This is the Louie T Network.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to lockdown coverage week number 9 in the National Football League. Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, week 9 NFC South family business. And this game had a playoff atmosphere to it. I could feel the tension coming through the screen. It felt great. Enjoyed watching this football game. And obviously watching it from afar, I found it hard to believe how that 10-point lead right before the half just vanished into thin air. But watching the game, I understand the dynamics, and I look at the Falcons and I say to myself, boy, you guys find, create, and invent new ways to lose football games. I find it fascinating how you create new ways to lose games. You had no business losing this football game. You create 2 Jonathan Stewart fumbles. You flip the field position numerous times. Julio Jones wide open in the end zone, drops a touchdown. Matt Ryan over. You remember that 300-yard receiving game Julio Jones had, what? Was it last year? It was probably last year because the Falcons were hot last year. Remember that in Atlanta last year? He could have had another one of those games in this game. Okay? Should have had another one of those 235-yard, 2-touchdown games in this game. But you guys just find ways, couldn't convert on a 4th and 1. Had 3rd and 1, had 4th and 1, couldn't convert on either one. You guys are just creating ways to lose ball games. I swear. I'm baffled at why this team can't get out of their own way. You should be 6-2 right now, not 4-4. You should be 7-1 right now, not 4-4. But you are. Well, your record says you are. You're a 4-4 ball club because you don't know how to get out of your own way. And meanwhile, the Carolina Panthers, I don't know how they're 6-3. I feel the same way about them as I do the Miami Dolphins. When the Dolphins were like 4-2, and I said, how are the Dolphins over 500? Why are the Dolphins over 500? Because I look at this Panthers team and I say to myself, you had 2 offensive outbursts that almost were outliers, like they don't belong with the rest of your season. The game up in New England that you won that nobody gave you a chance to win. And then the following week on the road against Detroit. 2 offensive outbursts, 2 anomalies. You look at the rest of your season, there aren't any games on the schedule. There aren't any wins under your belt that look anything remotely close to those 2 games. You beat San Francisco in the first week. You lose to New Orleans in the second week of the season. You beat Buffalo in the second week of the season. Then you lose to New Orleans. Both of those 2 wins to start the season, there was little to no offensive production whatsoever. Your last 2 wins against 2 teams in the division, against Atlanta, at least this game, though, I will say, looked more like the Carolina Panthers team I've come to know and love. But it still wasn't impressive, but it's what I expect from this team. And then last week, 2 weeks ago versus Tampa Bay, you barely scored enough points, but it was enough because the defense was dominant against a bad Buccaneers football team. You got the win there. So I look at this team and I'm like, why is this team 6-3? But it's because they know who they are. And remember I said they lacked identity? They still do. They're still searching for an identity. I think they figured out, though, we need to get back to who we are. And that's Cam Newton's got to run the football, which I hate. Because how long can he last doing that? He had the Superman stretch with his hand over the end zone. He could have easily have broken his wrist doing that. Like, that's stupid. You don't want your quarterback, and that was with his throwing arm. You don't want your quarterback doing that, but that's Cam Newton. He only knows how to play one way. You can't ask him to kind of dial back what it is he does. He's all in or nothing type of guy. At least they're getting him to slide now, and even those aren't pretty. He had one slide where he went right into one of the Falcons' corners. I want to say it was Trufant. He went right into him just so he could slide. Just get your ass on the ground. What do you got to run into somebody to slide down on the ground for? But in any event, That's what they are offensively. They're at their best when Cam is a threat as a runner. And they tried to get away from that. They didn't want to do that. And I understand why they don't want to do that, but they're not the same team when they're not doing that, which for 2 weeks it seemed like maybe they can get away from that. Maybe against New England, maybe against Detroit. Cam is a runner here and there when things break down in the pocket is all they need. They don't need the read option, and they don't need Cam on a straight quarterback draw. They don't need Cam on a speed option where he keeps and runs for 30-some-odd yards like he did in this game with a read option, and he comes out of the back door and runs for about a good 40 before running and crashing into true fun instead of just sliding on the ground. But they're finding their identity. And I said about the same thing about these same two teams. They are lacking identity. One team's figured out what their identity is. The other's still searching for their identity. And in all of this, the KB trade, the losses, the injuries that you've had this year, lost in all of this for the Carolina Panthers is the fact that the defense is still good. Now, the defense is not great. There were opportunities for Atlanta to score major points in this game that they failed to take advantage of. This defense is not great. We watched Philadelphia carve them up. Now, again, I think Luke Kuechly left the game. That was the game he got injured in, like third quarter or so. But Philadelphia was moving the football before he got injured anyway. This is a good defense. It's not a great defense, but it's good enough for this team to try to win this division, make the playoffs, and make some noise. So we're going to see what the Panthers are going to do moving forward. I don't know if they've got enough juice to win the division. I don't know if they've got enough gas in the tank to be one of the better teams in the NFC. I do think, though, however, they're good enough to make the postseason and to be a dangerous team come playoff time because they play defense. I'm not so sure they can run it yet. Like, they were anemic running the football. Jonathan Stewart looks like he's washed. He's fumbling the football. He's not the same runner he used to be. It's time to phase him out. I want to see more of Cap. I keep saying this, and it's falling on deaf ears. I want to see more of Cameron Artis-Payne. I like what we're getting out of McCaffrey. I like what Cameron Artis-Payne brings to the table. I think it's time to start waning his carries away. Him being Jonathan Stewart. And kind of moving on from him. But in any event, they're not going to do it. Because he's supposed to be the hammer of this group. But I want to read something. I want to read something that I got from a Panthers fan after the KB trade. I made a video about the trade, and a lot of us that are not Panthers fans couldn't understand the dynamics of the trade. The one thing that I kept repeating was I didn't know what his presence, him being Kelvin Benjamin, what his presence was in the locker room. And I said that I thought to myself that the best receiver on the team was actually Devin Funchess. He's got the best hands. To me, he's, of course, a lot faster. But I thought that your most clutch receiver was KB. When Cam needed a big catch, when they needed it on third and whatever, it was KB that they would go to. When they needed a big play in the end zone, it was KB Cam was going to. And so I looked at it as this team looking to get, how in the NBA, you move a player because you got some young guys on the bench that you want to get minutes for. You're looking at these guys that you drafted or some young guys that have been on the bench for 2 years, and you're like, okay, these guys can play. We want minutes for them, but there aren't any minutes because we got this veteran in front of them. So you move the veteran so that you can create more playing time for your young guys. That's not how it works in the NFL. If you have young guys that you want to play, you just sit the veteran down. It's not like the NBA where there's only 15 players, and if you sit a veteran down that has a presence in the locker room, he can affect 14 other guys and be a malcontent and be a problem on your team if he's not starting, if he's not getting the minutes that he's accustomed to getting. This is the NFL. There's 53 players on an NFL roster. If you sit one guy down, the train just keeps moving right along. All right, he can be just as mad as he wants to. Sit your ass down, shut up, and when I call your number, you go in the game. That's how it works in the NFL. So if you had a problem with Kelvin Benjamin and you wanted to play the young guys, because that's apparently what they wanted to do, looking at this game and the way things unfolded. They wanted to get Samuel on the field more, Curtis Samuel. And I've been screaming for him to get more opportunities to touch the football, just in general. Looks like they wanted to get Kalen Clay on the field a little bit more, maybe. Obviously, Russell Shepard is a guy that they want to see touch the football more. That's fine. Did you have to do that at the expense of moving Kelvin Benjamin, though? I'll take it a step further. If you're going to move him, couldn't you have gotten more for him than a 3rd and a 7th round pick? Again, that was what the biggest problem was for me and most people was that, okay, so you move him. So what? Couldn't you have gotten more, though, than a 3 and a 7? That's not a big haul for a guy you spent the 1st round pick on. But in any event, I want to read this comment. This is from my man, Sin Day Co. A Carolina Panthers fan that is a very loyal viewer of this program. And he sent me this a couple of weeks ago. I meant to read it earlier, but this is the perfect time to read it. So I thought I'd share it now. He says, I want to chime in on the KB trade. He said, please read this on the show. And I didn't read it on the show. I forgot. But I think this is the perfect time to read it. Maybe even better to read it here because you're talking to people who aren't Panthers fans here and people who are Panthers fans. So this is giving us a Panthers fan perspective on the trade and what it means and moving forward. He says, I like KB the person too, but you are vastly overrating KB, and vastly overrating KB is in all caps. He says, as far as football decisions go, I'm not even mad with this move. He is not, I repeat, not in all caps, worth a franchise tag or market value long-term contract money next year, which I think he's got an extra year on his deal because the Carolina Panthers picked up his 5th-year option, being that he was a 1st-round pick, but that's nor here nor there. He says, period, all caps. If we had to choose between Star and KB, Star all day and twice on Sunday. He says KB was a tight end posing as a wide receiver. Every 3 weeks or so, he would have a good game, but he just didn't put in the work. Struggling with his weight, doesn't have number 1 wide receiver speed, occasionally quitting on plays, constantly pushing off on DBs for offensive PIs when he should have the clear advantage and always struggling to get open. Not to mention we went 15-1 and to the Super Bowl without him. The problem was no speed on the field, no real deep threat. KB and Funches were basically the same player. When you can't get the safeties out of the box, you can't run the ball, and that's been a problem for this team, and it's a run-first team. The reason our offense was so dynamic in 2015 was because of its diversity, and Cam will force-feed KB more often than he should. I wish him the best, I really do, but this decision, in my opinion, was justified. We had to get something for him. I guess, I guess if that's how the organization felt, I guess a 3 and a 7, I don't like it, but you had another year at KB, but if you felt like you had to move him for a 3 and a 7, I guess it doesn't make your team better. I can tell you that much, not in the here and now. Listening to that, it sounds like addition by subtraction. Yes, Cam does force the ball to KB sometimes in a pinch. Yeah, he does that. He does it to a lot of the guys that he trusts. He does it to Greg Olsen when he's on the football field. He does it to the guys that he trusts. And so you think he's going to stop forcing the football to guys that he likes and trusts? No, he's just going to do it to somebody else. He's going to do it to Funches. He's going to do it to Greg O when he comes back. It's not going to change. He's just going to change the number of the guy that he's forcing the football to. He's got his favorites just like most NFL quarterbacks do, and they force it to their favorite guys because they trust those guys to make plays for them. So that's not going to change now that KB's gone. He's just going to force it to somebody else. And as far as the 2015 season goes, I heard a lot of Panthers fans echoing that sentiment. You had a different team, and it was a different setup, and it was a different structured offense. You're not doing the same things you did in 2015. I've been screaming for this team to be more diverse, but guess what? You don't have that kind of speed anymore. All right? Curtis Samuel, in case you didn't know, newsflash, he's not a real wide receiver. He's still learning the position. So you're going to have to find ways and create ways for him to get the football in his hands, which I've been screaming since you drafted him. Like, you don't draft guys like him and McCaffrey unless you have a plan for him. Well, McCaffrey, you seem to have a plan for him. He's touching the football plenty. It just seems like it's the same way every week. I thought in this game, I'll give Mike Shula a little bit of credit. This offense seemed a lot more diverse, but again, a lot more diverse generally means more Cam Newton runs. which I am not a fan of. But if that's what you have to do to be successful offensively, by all means, do what you must do. And in this game, that's what you did. He damn near had just as many rushing yards as he did passing yards. Okay? And if that's what you got to do for this team to be successful, by all means, knock yourself out. But it was good to see them find ways to get Christian McCaffrey the football. You know you're going to get 4 screens a game. You know you're going to get 2 or 3 check downs. You know you're going to get 1 or 2 read option plays with him. And then you'll get 3 or 4 more handoffs. They're very predictable in the way that they get him the football. I want to see them switch it up. I like some of the different things, different wrinkles I saw off of some of that. But in any event, they still got a long way to go on offense. But this defense is good enough to get them by until they figure out some things offensively, you would hope, in Carolina. But it was good enough in this game. We'll talk about how they got the 20-17 victory over the Atlanta Falcons, who are in some trouble at 4-4 with some losses that are inexplicable. The only thing I can say about a lot of the Falcons' losses are they're coming outside of the conference. 3 of their 4 losses came to the AFC East. So when it starts coming down to tiebreakers and things of that nature, they haven't lost to very many NFC teams. So they're in a good position still at 4-4 to try to make a push to make the playoffs. But they can't afford many more of these types of losses in the division, in the conference, if they're looking to try to seriously make the playoffs. But before we get to the breakdown of the game, and I'm sorry I was a little long-winded at the beginning of this breakdown, thank you for joining me on this program, on this breakdown. If you haven't already done so, what are you waiting on? Subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content in 2017 and beyond. We're changing the game here on the Louie T Network. And I just want you to be a part of that movement by simply hitting the subscribe button and becoming a member of the Louie T Network. I've got a number of social media platforms that will help you stay in tune to what's going on this channel. Like I've said before, these live streams that I do, and I do a bunch of them, they're like Halloween candy. Not everything in your bucket is good. I don't like the Mary Jane candy, okay? I don't like the little orange or black candies in the wrapper. Those are disgusting. I don't like dots. I don't like Smarties. I don't need those. I can pick those out and give those away to somebody else. Same thing with my live streams. You may just be a Panthers fan and you may not care about any other team in the league but the Panthers. Well, guess what? If you're if you turn on the notifications, if you're tuned into my Twitter and my YouTube channel and you have the notifications turned on, you'll know when I'm doing the Panthers live stream and you'll be able to join in and talk about it. So all I ask is that you make sure that you have those platforms, those social media platforms at your disposal and use them wisely. Those links are down in the description, as well as how you can donate to the Louie T Network. Those are the 2 ways you can donate, via Patreon and PayPal. The links are down in the description. I also did a video on how you can get exclusive content from this channel through Patreon. And so that video and that link to the video is also down in the description. If you can donate, please help further this channel along. Again, the links are down in the description of this and every single video that I do. So let's jump into this breakdown, shall we? Start with the team that was able to get it done, who improves to 6-3 on the season, that being the Carolina Panthers. This is a football team that I think, when it's all said and done, I told you 2 teams out of this division are going to make the playoffs. I'm still not 100% sold on the Saints, but as the weeks pass, that defense is selling me more and more. And the more that defense does, the less Drew Brees has to do. And the less he has to do, the more dangerous they become. And so as the weeks pass, I am starting to become sold on the Saints as one of those 2 teams. For a long time, I kept saying the Saints are going to fall off the wagon at some point. And these 2 teams are going to be the 2 teams, when the dust settles and the smoke clears, these are the 2 teams that are going to be left in the NFC South as the representatives to make the postseason. And that very well still may be the case when it's all said and done. But as I continue to watch the Falcons struggle and I continue to watch the Panthers find ways to win, and in this league, I don't give a damn how it looks. We can talk about how ugly some of these wins are. Who cares? It's a win. Next week, when they're playing the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football or Sunday night or whenever the hell the game is, I think it's on a Monday night, you think we're going to be talking about how ugly this win was? Hell no. How ugly the Tampa Bay win was? Hell no. How ugly the Week 1 20-3 win over San Francisco was? Hell Hell no. How ugly the week 2 9-3 win over the Bills was? Hell no, nobody gives a damn. You know what they care about? Oh, it's another one in the left-hand column. That's all we care about. And they've got 6 in the left-hand column. Add this one to that total. This was a gutty win. You were down 10-0 at home. Jonathan Stewart couldn't stop coughing up the goddamn football. Everything was going wrong that could go wrong. And right before the half, you turned it around and got Uncle Mo to come and sit on your sideline, and he never left. And it was a quick 14-point swing, and it changed this entire ball game. And then the defense picked up from there. They got stops, they got turnovers, they made plays, and they gave this Panthers team an opportunity to come away with this victory. And like I said, it felt like a playoff environment. The crowd was raucous. It was a great environment. Just watching it on television, I can't imagine being there. I knew that some of you watching this video, probably a couple of you actually were at the game. It was loud. I could hear it through my television set that was a loud game, and the intensity I could feel. These two teams don't like each other. Okay, when they went 15-1, this was the team that stopped them from going perfect in the season. These two teams don't like each other at all, and so this was a fun one to watch. It was physical. It was everything that I envisioned Falcons, Panthers to be. And for a while, I had struggled with what was the premier matchup in that division. For a while, it was Saints, Falcons. I think the new premier matchup in this division is Falcons, Panthers. And for some of you familiar with that division, that this is your family business because it's not mine. But for you who are a part of this division as fans, you probably will say, well, this has been the premier matchup. I don't know. I can't say. I'm just telling you, over the years, it's evolved. I thought it was Atlanta, New Orleans for a while there. I think this is the new premier matchup. Maybe it started that way in 2014, 2015 maybe. But this, to me, is the new premier matchup in this division. And I felt the energy through the screen. And the Panthers fed off of that energy defensively. And I thought they did a really good job of getting to Matt Ryan. He was off the spot all day. They chased him around. He was never comfortable, especially in the second half. He was a little comfortable in the first half. In the second half, he was never comfortable. And I'll take it a step further. They found it tough to have running room in this game. There were a couple of gashes here and there, but when they needed it, they found it tough to get it. And credit this defense for flying around, making plays. Like I said, this still is a defense that's a work in progress. You got two safeties that they're okay. Mike Adams still has good football left in him, but he's an older safety. You know how I feel about the other safety. I can't even think of his damn name, but he's a bum. And he should have been beat for a touchdown in this game. But nonetheless, your corners, they're still coming of age. Your linebackers are outstanding. And your defensive line, they're starting to generate some plays, generate some pressure, make plays up front. So that unit is starting to come along because I thought you lacked that last year. There was no pressure off the edge. It's amazing what a 876-year-old J-Pap can provide for you, but I didn't know he still had any gas left in the tank. But he's taking that victory lap. There's still a little bit of gas. It's probably on that quarter of a tank line, but he's still it's still enough in there to keep going around the track. And so defensively, I thought that they stepped up and made the plays in this game because even though the offense did some good things, they were moving the ball except for the turnovers. It wasn't generating points because of those turnovers, and they weren't scoring a ton of points. Outside of the 14-point outburst before halftime, and it's crazy because I think they said that's the first quarter this season. I think they said this. They said something to the effect where they scored 14 straight points. I'm like, are you kidding me? So, I mean, that just speaks volumes as to how this team has struggled to put up points this season in spurts. They've had those two games, outliers. Every other game, it's been, hey, get it how you get it. And so the defense had to step up, and it did in this game. And that was huge. Offensively, I think Mike Shula did implement a few more wrinkles. There were some moments in this game where you needed a clutch conversion and you didn't know where to go. And you're going to have to figure that out. Because on 3rd and 9, up 20-17, where first down pretty much puts the Falcons in a position where they got to burn their 2 remaining timeouts, and that's going to allow you to probably get the game to the 2-minute warning, possibly put the game away. You're not throwing a corner route to Curtis Samuel. That's not what you do on 3rd and 9 when you need to try to put the game away. And that's where KB comes into play. And we're not going to sit here and every single play that you don't convert, every single time you got to kick a field goal in the red zone, we're not going to make it a referendum on KB no longer being on his team. But I just thought that that was a situation where, okay, no KB, who are you going to go to? That's not the guy you're going to. So, offensively, though, I thought that he did add in a few extra wrinkles that we hadn't seen, and that was nice. And it's the Cam Newton show, and it is what it is. I just hope he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, this team's dangerous. Simple as that. But you can't ask him to be Superman, throwing it, running it, diving, doing all kinds of nonsense, and don't expect, yeah, the man is huge, he's big, but he is also a guy that can get banged up. And the one thing I don't want to see is him starting to get up. Anytime I can see his gum in his mouth, there's a problem. That means he's grimacing. I don't want to see the gum like this with his teeth clenched like this. That means he's grimacing. I like to see the gum in his mouth with his mouth open. That means he's happy. That means he's telling me first down, we moving the sticks. I want to see him, I want to see the gum in his mouth then. I don't want to see the gum in his mouth getting up, him on one knee trying to get up. That means there's something wrong. There's a broken rib. There's a fractured ankle. There's a sprained ankle. There's a broken or a hurt thumb, sprained thumb. There's something else going on that we don't know about till the end of the season. I don't want to see that. And if he keeps having games like this, where he's got to be Mr. Everything on offense, those injuries are going to come. And that worries me. But for the time being, do what you got to do. It produced a win. A big one, too. You had to have this one. In the division. You already lost at home in the division. You couldn't afford to go 0-2 in the division at home. So this was a big one. As far as Atlanta's concerned, if you miss the playoffs, it's going to be because of losses like this. Games that you look back on the season and say, how the hell did we lose to Miami at home up 17-0 again? Remind me. How the hell did we lose to Buffalo at the crib when we had that game seemingly in control? How the hell did we lose to Carolina up 10-0 and really dominating the football game? How did we let that one slip through our fingers again? It's games like those. If you don't make the postseason, you're going to look back on it and you're going to say, God damn it, we did this to ourselves. Everything is there. This team has everything you're looking for. The defense is ferocious. God damn it, Keanu O'Neal is a savage. Stripped Jonathan Stewart of the football twice. He hit Cam Newton one time where I was like, man, this guy's a savage. He's a beast. This defense flies around. The offense has weapons. And Julio Jones, he's a beast. He did drop a touchdown in this game. Matt Ryan still seems to not be able to find that deep ball touch. He had it on that 4th down, though. He had it on that 4th down that Julio dropped. It should have been a touchdown. But he missed Julio on the first possession of the game for a touchdown. He had to settle for a field goal. That's 4 points right there. Julio wide open in the end zone, overshot him by 2 yards. Julio drops a touchdown. That's another 7. And that ended up being a turnover on downs. That's 11 points. You lost the game by 3. You can't keep shooting yourself in the foot. You created turnovers on the road. You built a 10-0 lead. You played outstanding football. And it took you literally 3 minutes of game time to throw away what it took you a whole 29 minutes to build. 27 minutes to build in the first half. You threw it away in 3 minutes. Gave up a touchdown, and then Matt Ryan throws an interception. It was a bad one, too. Obviously, Austin Hooper's supposed to cross the face of the safety there. You're never supposed to allow a defender to cross your face. As a receiver, you always cross face, even if that means you get a penalty. Even if that means you crash into the defender, you never allow a defender to cross your face on anything in breaking. Because if you do, normally what happens on that play, and he fell down. I don't know what the hell Austin Hooper was doing on that play. But in any event, if Matt Ryan saw the safety, he would have never thrown the football. I don't think he even saw Mike Adams on that play because that wasn't a good throw. It wasn't a good decision. But in any event, you had opportunities in this game, man. You had opportunities in this game, and you blew it. I'm at a loss with this Falcons football team. You know, we blame the defensive coordinator, we blame the offensive coordinator for their struggles, but at the end of the day, the players got to go out and execute. And there were plays that were left on the field because the players didn't execute, whether it was Matt Ryan, whether it was Julio Jones, whether it was Austin Hooper, whether it was the offensive line, whatever the case may be. There were plays to be made, and this Falcons team just failed to execute. You failed on 4th down twice. You dropped a touchdown. You overshot a touchdown. You didn't want to win. You didn't want to win. And so, not really much more for me to say. You did everything in this game to put yourself in a position to win, and you refused to win. And the Panthers said, you don't want it? We'll take it. You don't got to tell us twice. All you got to do is tell us once that you don't want to win, and we'll take it from there. You told them when Julio dropped that touchdown, okay, cool. You don't want to win. All right, we got it. We didn't know. If we weren't sure if you were trying to win or not, now we know you're not trying to win. Cool, we got it. Don't worry about it. So you're 4-4 now. And got a big one at home versus Dallas next week. That's a team that you may have to fight with over a wild card if you're trying to get in. Because they probably not going to win the NFC East. Anything can happen, but you may need that one. That's at the crib. You haven't been good at home this year. You got to find a way to win that one because you didn't get this one. This one was more important than that one until you lost this one. Now that one is more important than anything. You fall beneath 500 right here, and you're going in the wrong direction. I'm going to tell you right now, this NFC conference is much stronger than anybody anticipated coming into this season. Nobody expected the NFC conference to be stronger than the AFC. We looked over there and we said, man, they got a lot of powerhouse teams. The Raiders are supposed to be good. The Broncos are supposed to be good. The Chiefs are supposed to be good. The Ravens could be back defensively. The Steelers, we know they're always good. The Patriots, we know they're always good. Hell, Tennessee might be ready to take that next step. The AFC's wide open. But the NFC? Teams playing football. Teams are playing football over here. Vikings already 6-2. Rams 6-2. Eagles 8-1. Seahawks 5-3. Panthers 6-3. Saints 6-2. It's not a game over here. Like, you might win 10 games and not get in the playoffs on this side of the bracket. It's not a game on this side of things. So you keep losing games like this and think you're just going to be able to turn on a switch at the end and think you're going to still get a ticket to the day. You might win 9 games, 10 games and not get in. It's not a game over here. I just ran off 5 or 6 teams with 6 wins or more in this conference. It's not a game over here. And there's a number of 5 and 4 win teams that's starving for a wild card. It's like, all right, I probably won't win my division, but I'm starving for a wild card. Starving. So you better stop playing around. You better stop effing around. Get your shit together. Panthers get the job done at home. Great environment. 20-17 over the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons leave this game at 4-4. Panthers improved to 6-3. Who knew? Who knew this Panthers team would be 6-3 at this point after some of the struggles they've had this season? After losing at home and getting smoked by New Orleans. After looking really bad at home versus Philadelphia and having some injuries. this didn't look like a team that would be 6-3 right now, but don't look now. Hey, New Orleans, I know you're playing outstanding football, but right over your left shoulder, it's the Carolina Panthers. Don't F up, because those boys are right there ready to pounce on that number 1 spot. Let's get to some comments. JFT Network says, what do you think about my Jets? We talked about your Jets on Thursday. Your Jets are solid. They're one of these teams in the league that they're not a good team, but they're a team that has overachieved in my mind. At 4-5, nobody expected the Jets to be 4-5 right now. Todd Bowles is doing a hell of a job, and he demands head coach of the year consideration. He's not going to win, but he should get votes. And I'll say this, the Jets are a lot more talented than people gave them credit for when the season started, me included. Kate Francis says, oh, what's good, man? Steph Curry says, I'm pretty sure they're going to release Sark of his offensive duties. What do you think? I don't know if this is all Sark's fault. There have been times where I've been, and I'm still not happy with the amount of touches in the receiving game that the backs are getting. Is it me, or did Tevin Coleman catch a screen and take it to the crib? Because that's what these backs are capable of. At the end of the game, when you needed a drive, was it me, or did Devontae Freeman catch an arrow route over the middle of the field, break off the linebacker, make him fall on the ground, and pick up a first down for a gain of like 12? These backs are dynamic out of the backfield. The blueprint was already left there. Sark didn't have to change much. The blueprint was there. All he had to do was pick up the blueprint and say, all right, I'm going to alter a few things. But it was already set for him. Throw the ball to the backside of the backfield, run the football effectively, play action fake will open itself up, take shots down the field. The blueprint was there. And every now and again, sprinkle in a wide receiver screen to Taylor Gabriel, and everything is Gucci. He came in and he wanted to reinvent the wheel. He's not getting the ball to the backside of the backfield. But that being said, I didn't have any problem with his game plan because guys were open. They just didn't execute. That's not a Sark problem. He can only draw up the plays and put guys in positions to succeed. He can't help that Taylor Gabriel wants to trip over his own damn feet when he's got blockers in front of him on a wide receiver screen. That could have been out the gate, but he's slipping and sliding all over the damn place. It's not his fault Julio Jones can't catch a wide open touchdown in the end zone when you had to have it on a 4th down on a beautifully set up double move. It's not his fault that Matt Ryan can't hit Julio Jones 3 steps ahead of the next closest defender for a touchdown on the opening drive of the game. That's not Sark's fault. BE says, Julio should have had that TD. When are you going to do the Cardinals game? There's only 1 game left, BE. You played the 49ers. Sit down and wait your turn. Nobody cares about 49ers and Cardinals right now. We're talking about Falcons and Panthers. 2 teams that may make the playoffs. Wait your turn. Don't come hijacking the Falcons and Panthers comment section. Sin Day Go. What's good with you, man? J Stu is next, Lou. His best days are behind him. We are removing all the slow players out and putting players with burst and energy in. I like the new direction. I've been ready for J Stu to move on. I didn't even think he needed to be back this year, to be honest with you. I just think he's a nice locker room guy. That's cool. But you can still diminish his touches and still have him be a locker room guy. Kate Francis says, I believe the Panthers will be more explosive once Greg Olsen comes back and we can win this division. It's still up for grabs. Only a half a game back behind New Orleans. No doubt. You are right where you need to be. The key game will be when you go to New Orleans. If they sweep you, you're not going to win the division. Simple as that. If you go there and you find a way to win, which you don't have a problem going to New Orleans, but I'm telling you, it's not the same New Orleans team. Them days of 41-38 shootouts in the Superdome, that shit is dead. That game might easily be 17-13. Excuse me. Michael Thompson says, Panthers are #1 in total defense. I could care less about the total defense stat because they usually take yards into consideration. I just care about how many points you're giving up a game. You could tell me, hey, we giving up 382 yards a game, but you only scoring 18.6 points a game. That's the one I care about. Because 383 yards a game, you probably somewhere in the 20s giving up that many yards a game. But you do know what 18.6 points a game is going to be at? Right in the top of the league. Right around top 3, top 5 in the league. So that's what I care about. I could care less about total defense. Blackbird Bliss says, the only thing worse than losing to the Panthers is having to listen to @Louie T talk about losing to the Panthers. I need a drink right now. Then don't lose to the Panthers. But make sure you listen to me talk about you losing to the Panthers. Sindeko says, bruh, it was hype at the game. I was there when the offense catches up with the defense, and it will. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, man, it seemed hype. It seemed lit. I mean, I could feel the energy through the screen. It just felt like a playoff atmosphere. It was fun to watch the game. Nathan Long says, Saints and Falcons are clearly the premier matchup. They were born 1 year apart, both historically bad and have been bitter rivals. Us fans know how much they hate each other. It felt like that for years. Saints-Falcons was the premier matchup in the division. I'm starting to believe that this is the new premier matchup in this division. But when it came to primetime games, what game was always on national television? Saints and Falcons. That was always the premier matchup. My girlfriend lived in Atlanta for years, and she said Falcons fans can't stand the Saints. I could feel the tension there. So I know that has been the premier matchup for years, but it's starting to feel like a changing of the guard. These feel like the two best teams in terms of hatred for one another and producing good football games. But we'll see. We'll see. Kay Francis says, Kirk Coleman is not a bum. You tripping. Kirk Coleman is a bum. I'm not tripping. But he's your bum. You enjoy your bum. Every team has bums that the fan base gravitates towards and accepts him as their own. He's your bum. Accept your bum. He's a bum. But I always get backlash from saying Kirk Coleman is a bum. He's a bum, but he's your bum. You have embraced him, and he's playing good football for y'all. But I know the truth. I know the real Kirk Coleman. The real Kirk Coleman got burned on what should have been a touchdown. That's Kirk Coleman. He's a bum. Archangel says, we got a lot of regrouping to do, but I still believe in my boys' season ain't over yet. NFC still wide open, #rise up. Netzel's Toy 01 says, I don't like the way he acts with his tantrums at the podium or in the game, but it is actually, it affects his leadership abilities, or is it just the media? I mean, Cam is a sore loser. That's what it all boils down to. He's a sore loser. He's been coddled for much of his life. He's not uncommon to the new age athlete, the guy that has never really been told no throughout his entire life because he's been so much better than everybody else. He excels. And so he's been in AAU. Everybody's always been recruiting him, kissing his ass. That's Cam Newton. He's spoiled. It's okay. He's a damn good football player, though. And we've heard the whole Charles Barkley thing. You know, I'm not a role model. Cam prides himself on being a role model. That's the only problem I have with him is if you pride yourself on being a man of the kids and wanting to make sure you set a good example for them, you want to be on Nickelodeon, then you can't say stupid stuff out your mouth. You can't throw temper tantrums, and you can't get upset. You got to man up even when you don't like questions, even when you don't like the situation, even when you're mad, you got to man up. And he'll grow up. It's just a maturity thing with him. He'll be fine. Archangel says, I'll be going to the new Benz for the first time against them boys. Hey, look at your boys in Seattle. Any given Sunday, man. I know. That's why I said anybody can get it on any given week. And so it is what it is. B, he says, are the Falcons still down from that Super Bowl loss? They haven't been the same team. I don't think it has anything to do with the Super Bowl loss. I think it has everything to do with the changes that have come from the offseason. You got a new defensive coordinator, which I think he's actually doing an exceptional job. And you've got a new offensive coordinator, and I think that's where the biggest difference that you've seen with this team has come from. So it is what it is. They got to make plays, though. I refuse to put 100% of the blame offensively on Sark. I think 70 to 75% of the blame is on him, but the players got to go out and make plays. They were in positions to make plays, and they didn't make plays on Sunday. That's not a Sark problem. That's a player problem. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Bottom line is, Panthers get the win, 20-17. They go to 6-3 on the season, and they've got a home date on Monday Night Football versus the Miami Dolphins. That should be a win. At the crib, you need to take care of business. But that Dolphins team, back against the wall, scary group. But you're supposed to take care of business there. Get to 7-3 heading into your bye week. As far as the Falcons are concerned, big one at the crib. Dallas Cowboys. I'm not saying your season's on the line, but your season might be on the line. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. In any event, that's going to do it for your man Louie T here on Lockdown Coverage. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here on the Louie T Network. Come back and join me. I got one more game to break down on Lockdown Coverage. Cardinals get back to 500 on the season over the San Francisco 49ers. Oy vey. I can't with them. I can't with the San Francisco 49ers. And why didn't anybody tell me Pierre Garçon wasn't playing? Damn it, man. But that's next. And then we're done. And that'll lead us right into Monday Night Football. So, I'll see you for that breakdown. Don't you go anywhere. One more game to break down here on Lockdown Coverage. Week number 9 in the National Football League. I'll be right back.